Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Diablo 3, Reaper of Souls with the Crusader. We are doing our playthrough, analytical playthrough. Now, we are getting close to, well, basically we are assaulting Leoric's Manor. Now the downside is, where I left off in the last video was just outside this courtyard. And since I didn't enter the courtyard and didn't go through the manor, I ultimately had to fight my way back here. As you can tell that I am 15% away from leveling. I had to do a little bit of fighting to get here. Didn't level, but did get quite a bit of experience. I'm looking forward to this because when you enter the manor, there's usually a pretty big group of enemies, and I want to kind of show what this build can do. And this build is actually pretty good with the AoE. There we go.
I'll be telling stories about that for a while.
So we've got the vacuum on the condemn with the heart the clouds on the falling sword. So my whole plan is to kind of pull things in with the vacuum, combining it with part the clouds. I've got my stun on my Laws of Valor, as you can see, which I'm using to good effect here. I've got everything stunned, and once they break the stun, I use my shield glare. I'm going to go ahead and use my vacuum to kind of knock them around a bit. Part the clouds here. You can see the lightning from the hammers even follows me when I go up in the sky. That's kind of funny. Something to be aware of, I guess. Got to stun every 30 seconds with Laws of Valor. Stun. I don't even know what I was trying to say there. So build's working good. I think by the time I cut through a few monsters here inside the manor, I will very quickly become 29. Alright, let's go ahead and condemn and go in. There's part the clouds, kind of make sure everything stays inside, and just lots of damage there. Glare cooldown is only 12 seconds, so I can pretty much put that out pretty quickly. Pop the Laws of Valor after that wears off, and then by then I'll have another shield glare. That should allow me to keep them stunned for quite a while. Alright, condemn, part the clouds, bunch of damage. I actually used my laws a little early there. I meant to do the shield glare first. Alright, so we got Blessed Shield Rune, Combust. Akarat's Champion, Firestarter. Consecration, Frozen Ground. I gotta love how this build works really well at keeping things stunned in place for a long period of time. And there we go.
There is a new piece.
Cleared that out pretty good. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and have to look at my new abilities. Didn't really do this one for very long, but it was kind of fun. So new defensive ability is Consecration and Frozen Ground. Consecrated ground becomes frozen. Enemies that walk onto the frozen ground are slowed by 60% and have a 40% chance to be frozen for 2 seconds. So that's pretty nice. It maintains the healing that you get from it, so it is a good healing ability. And it slows the enemies down so they can't get you as easily, and of course has a chance at freezing them. That can be very good for both melee and ranged abilities or builds. Alright, looks like Blessed Shield is going to get Combust. The shield erupts in flames and it has a 33% chance to explode on impact, dealing 310 weapon damage as fire to all enemies in 10 yards. So you've got the standard 430 plus 250 of the shield block. So 430 is a pretty good amount of damage, and it has a 33% chance to do another 310. Right, so 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, we're looking about 740 weapon damage if it blows up, and it's AoE. Well, the AoE only does the 310. It won't combine from the first part, but that's pretty good. That's a pretty nice AoE range kind of build. Alright, so we've got our first rune, it looks like, with Akarat's Champion. So Fire Starter. Dealing damage burns enemies with the power of Akarat. Dealing 460% weapon damage as fire over 3 seconds. Now this has been updated from what it used to be. It used to be that every time you attacked, I believe, you blew up, right? You did AoE damage, like you were an avatar of fire, and you would do this AoE damage around your character. That meant that Firestarter really wasn't a great build for anybody that wanted to be mid to long range, because the explosion was very short range. So what this does is it takes Akarat's Champion and makes it a massive damage dealer now, and you can use it with any build that you want. Long range, short range, it really doesn't matter. This will burn them. And the 460 weapon damage over 3, if I'm not mistaken, will stack with itself. So it doesn't just refresh, it's going to be constantly doing damage. We'll take a look at that and see how much damage we can actually get going once I pop that on. So I'm going to lose my combo, which was a really fun combo. I didn't get to use it for very long. But hey, that's okay. Price we pay, right? So with that, let's see. How do I want to play this? I'm going to have Consecration. Maybe I don't want to pull them in as much. Maybe I'll get Steed Charge, kind of get me a little bit of a way to get out of any damage I may have if I need to. I do like Condemn, but let's kind of pull away from it for now. And we will get more fire, right? Let's just go for fire. We're going to be massive fire damage with our Crusader. And beyond that, I'm actually wondering if I want to get rid of what I'm using here. That's more life. See, I could go fire it again, so do a bunch of AoE fire damage as well. So basically, Akarat's Champion with the rune used to be a lot like Roar, which does fire around you. I'm going to go ahead and keep those as they are, actually. And move forward. So I'll go ahead and put down Frozen Ground when I get to the group of enemies that are up ahead. We'll pop Akarat's Champion. Because it says dealing damage, right? So even when I pop Frozen Ground, so not against these guys. Pop the shield, and you see there's the explosion, and when it blows up, you can see a lot of damage going out here. It's good single target, but it's also good AoE. And the shield does ricochet off of 3 enemies, and it has a chance to bounce each time.
She's unstoppable. No mortal could slaughter our brethren with such ease.
So you're looking at a chance to explode on 3 different bounces. 33% chance means it should explode at least once each throw. The statistical chance that it won't is pretty low, but of course we all know RNG is RNG. So let's go ahead, let's do this. Akarat's Champion, put down the Frozen Ground.
Delay her while I prepare her demise in the depths below.
And you can just see the burning damage just tearing him apart.
I'll see you again, Magda.
They did horrible things to us.
Did you see a man in rags?
Yes, the man with the golden eyes. I saw Magda take him into Leoric's old torture chambers below us.
You have done your duty, friend. I will deal with Magda.
Excellent. Now let's take a look at the two-handed flail that I got. 11.6 damage. Let's take the shield off so I can kind of compare. 0.1. Let's go to town so I can take off the cooldowns and try and compare this accurately. So it is saying I lose 11.6, but if I take Fervor off for Heavenly Strength, it is still a loss of 0.5. So alright, that's good to know. That is a loss either way, so we'll put Fervor back on. Looks like I did get a rings with some damage on it though, so 5.4 increased damage, I'll put that on as well. And anything for my good friend Cormac. He can't use flails, but he can use spears. He's got a 25 weapon. He can use this 42. Brings his damage up to 232. And this is vitality, but it has attack speed on it, so he can use that as well.
I understand.
When the Crusaders had learned all they could, Akan sent them out into the world, seeking a way to cleanse the corruption that coiled at the heart of the Zakarum faith. There was no clear goal for them to pursue, and some clerics claimed it was a fool's errand, that they could never succeed. But these Crusaders would not be deterred.
Well, things are moving along nicely. Build's working out very well. I can slow things down pretty quickly here. Get some health back, freeze things, do a bunch of AoE damage, and that's the best part too, is like this is really taking out a lot of these enemies in big groups. Now, unfortunately, I don't have as I'm catching up to my Witch Doctor, and I don't really have as much to say really. Crusaders not getting a lot of changes here coming in the PTR patch for 2.1. There's a lot of really good changes that are coming, but Crusaders are mostly untouched, and I think that's mainly because a lot of Crusader changes have already happened in the last two patches. I mean, we've gotten a lot of damage increases as Crusaders, and you know, I think they really were needed. Crusaders were fairly tanky, but just really didn't really have the stopping power they needed in a lot of cases, unless you built very specifically. I mean, I know some Crusaders that could tear apart a lot of enemies, but you pretty much had to build a certain way. So, we've hit level 30, we're getting our passive skill slot, so that's good. I find it kind of funny. Oh, let's go with skills real quick. Heaven's Fury is my new active skill. So that's the final active skill, and I'm getting Bowmen for Phalanx. So I'll go ahead and put those on. Immovable Object is the Law of Justice rune that I've unlocked. Anything else? Wrathful for passives. Divine Fortress for passives as well. So 2 passive skills, and I believe that was 3 active skills. So level 30, unlocking the new passive slot. Won't unlock the last until 70. Level 30 being the level that you get your last active skill as well. So I've got all my skills now. The only thing I'm going to be unlocking at this point is runes. Let's go ahead and do that real fast. Let's talk about level 30. So what do we get? We've got utility. We're going to get Phalanx. So Phalanx summons avatars who charge forward for 490 damage. However, Bowmen is the summoned avatars will no longer march. They will wield bows and attack enemies around you. They do 185% weapon damage, and they will follow you for 5 seconds. So rather than go through enemies and do a bunch of damage at 490, they're going to stay still and do 185, but they're going to attack for 5 seconds. They can only be summoned once every 15 seconds. So there is a cooldown on that. Unlike Phalanx, which has no cooldown, this will add a cooldown to it. So we'll go ahead and put that on. Conviction, so we're going to be losing Akarat's champion. That's fine. I like Heaven's Fury. This is one of the few skills I really like as a base level, and it gets even better with each rune you get. It's a 20-second cooldown, costs no wrath, and it calls down a Furious Ray of Holy Power. It deals 1,710 weapon damage is holy over 6 to any enemy that is caught within its field. So 1,710 over 6, that means you're getting about 285 damage per second out of this, which is pretty nice. Now, I would like to get Akarat's champion back as well, but let's see what we get moving on before we do that. So Laws of Justice is what we're moving from, so we're going to lose the attack speed. Looks like we're going back to increased resistance to all elements, which is fine. Res All is a fantastic way to stay alive, and at this level, having a passive amount of Resist All will just keep me going. I'm just not going to get the Wrath as fast, and I'm not going to get what I really liked was that Frozen in Terror, being able to stun every 30 seconds. With the movable object, we're getting the Empowered Law will increase armor for me and my allies by 3,000 for 5 seconds. So whenever I pop this, I'm going to get 5 seconds of a massive amount of armor. I mean, let's go ahead and put that on real quick and just take a look at where my armor currently is. I'm at 1,006. All right, and that gives me, it said, what, 3,000? Yeah, 3,000. So double my armor and then double that. It's amazing. So I'm sitting at 50% damage reduction. If I use this, I'm at 75% damage reduction. So I definitely gain a lot of survivability when using that skill. Now, let's look at the passives, right? We gained 2 new ones. We gained Defiant Fortress. Your armor is increased by a % equal to your shield's block chance. Not bad. I do believe this is one of them that was very recently changed. I can't remember what it was previously now. But armor increased by your shield's block chance is pretty nice. Let's see what I've got. I've got a shield with 14% block chance, so it's probably not going to go up too high. So I'm sitting at 1600 armor. If I put this on, I'm now at...
Well, we'll learn more by moving than talking.
So I go up to 1825. Which is not bad, but I don't think it's going to be great. Not anything I need to worry about. Other than that, I can get Wrathful. Each point of Wrath spent heals me for 16% life, or for 16 life, not percent. And the heal amount is increased by 1% of my Health Globe healing bonus. So it will go up as I get additional healing. So I can go ahead and use that. I am thinking I don't really need the defenses right now. I might just go ahead and get the attack speed up again for my generator. Of course, I could get some more defense. I've got life regeneration here and damage reduction. And I could gain... Well, let's see. That's 15% attack speed, but Holy Cause increases the damage dealt by my weapon by 10%, which is pretty nice. I do have some holy damage in Heaven's Fury, which means Holy Cause would give me 1% of my total life whenever I deal holy damage, so that would keep me alive. That's not too bad, I think. Let's try that. Let's get my weapon damage increase, and let's get some health back with holy damage. So we'll use Holy Cause for this build. I think that will work pretty well. With Fervor, where our Heaven's Fury shouldn't be as long. And of course, Immovable Object will, again, cooldown reduction because using a one-handed weapon. So I think this will be fine. So I got plenty of survivability here, I think. My toughness is at 19,000. At level 30. It's not too shabby. Lose my horse, though. Alright, so let's summon the Bowmen. There they are. You can see they're, at this point, standing still. But if they stay around when the enemy's dead...
Patience.
Can't summon them because of the cooldown. But I can come back here, for example, and the enemy followed me, so it doesn't matter. I'm gonna pop Heaven's Fury. Pop my armor.
Not enough wrath.
I'm not sure why it spawned all the way over here. I don't think that's where my cursor was. Was it? Shouldn't be. Alright. Consecration to slow them down. And you got to keep in mind, too, when I talk about the 3,000 armor gain by this skill, it's also giving me 210 increased resist all whenever I proc it. So I'm gaining a massive amount of armor, and I'm gaining a massive amount of resist all for my level, which is really nice. So what I think I should do is, since my Phalanx doesn't have a Wrath cost anymore, it just has a... You see here, it doesn't have a Wrath cost. I'll go ahead and proc it. And you see they do follow me. Since it doesn't have a cost anymore and it's got just a cooldown, what I'll probably do is want to proc it all the time to make sure it's always up. Like we see, thanks to my passive, my health is pretty much staying up. Well, actually, I think thanks to my punish as well. Just take a bunch of damage and then let's use this and see how much back it gives me. And you see my health is going up a pretty good amount. And then I've got Cormac healing me as well. Now I've popped my armor. This works out really well, I think, because I'm getting damage reduction from Laws of Justice. I'm getting a little bit of healing from Heaven's Fury. I'm getting some healing from Vigilant, as you know, so from Holy Cause for Heavy Fury, and then Vigilant as well giving me health, plus Punish, Rebirth giving me some health over time. And we look at healing, right? And healing is much more... Healing, regeneration of any kind, is much better when you have a lot of defense. You can have a huge health pool, plus I've got Consecrate, which is more healing over time. Ow, that kind of hurt. Thing is if you can maintain your toughness at a certain level,
Not ready yet.
and reduce your hit points and keep that toughness, then you're sitting pretty. The reason being is that, when you think about it, toughness is included in your health, right? The more health you have, the higher your toughness is. If you can keep your toughness up while reducing your health, that means you've increased your resistances. And if you're taking less damage per hit, that makes your healing more effective. So what I'm doing is, my healing may not be very strong right now. I have a few okay healing abilities, a few ways of getting my health back. But the big thing is the damage reduction, right? I'm going to have a good amount of damage reduction combined with the healing that I'm giving myself, so enemies aren't going to hit me nearly as hard. And I'm getting health back, so it basically makes my survivability be much higher than if I had just a large health pool. Large health pools can be great for surviving certain hits, but large health pools are only going to get you so far, and ultimately you need to have a little bit of regeneration. And this is something I'm definitely looking forward to with the next PTR, or when the next patch comes live, because on PTR they've increased the regeneration and life on hit of items on gear to compensate for the fact that health globes are going to have reduced healing. And I think in the end it works out pretty well. It basically puts survivability back in your hands as a player, puts it back into the hands of your gear. And this is especially important considering that you can get some pretty difficult greater rifts going. You know, you can get pretty high into the levels of that, and you're going to need to have a way of surviving it. They're basically trying to make it so you don't have to rely as much on health globes, which is, you know, they really like the health globe mechanic, but they want it to be so your gear matters as well. It probably makes it so you're probably more so that they want your gear to matter more, right? I have to admit, I really like the fact that they added health globes and that they took the focus away from spamming health potions. Because in D2, that's pretty much what you did. You spammed health potions. You tried to make sure your health was going up faster than the enemies could take it down. And in this game, they gave you a way to do that with gear without having to pop potions all the time. And yet the potions are still important. Here he is. The tormented behemoth. Horror of the pit. Well, I'm pretty much sitting here taking hits like a champ. Doing what Crusaders do best, and that's be kind of tanky.
I was certain I was gonna die in there.
Gonna be honest, I'm not sure how you're not dead.
To be found down here. All I could think of while I was trapped in that horrible darkness was that no one would ever know what had happened to me.
Oh, and plenty of experience and gold. I mentioned this once in my Witch Doctor video, but I'm going to mention it here as well, because, you know, I'm sure there's some people that won't watch one or the other. This is one of my favorite stops in between the Halls of Agony 2 and going into the Halls of Agony 3. Just because I like the fact that it's a quick change of scenery. Going outside. Getting something different to look at before you go into even more deep, dank dungeons. The Seven's Fury is a very interesting skill. I like that it's kind of an automatic skill, semi-automatic. You know, you have to proc it, and then it kind of gives you this AI damage beam. Because it's not like a pet, because it doesn't stop enemies from getting to you.
Not enough wrath.
Alright, there we go. Well, we're getting ever closer to the Butcher. And I will probably get 31 just beforehand. The difference in levels between my Crusader and the Witch Doctor are pretty high. It's interesting to see a character that started with Master and stayed on Master compared to the Witch Doctor, which started on Torment and then moved on to Master. A difference of, at this point, about 13 levels. But not only that, really, it's not just the difference in Master and Torment. The Witch Doctor benefited from some of the community events and extra experience, which can really pick up the discrepancy between the two. Ah, nice large pack of horrors. That means there's going to be a lot of knockbacks as I try to get back into my healing circle. I'm throwing my shield the wrong way, apparently, too. Alright. I'm going to stand my back to the wall, or not. Oi, oi, oi. Okay. This is one of my least favorite things to fight. I'm just going to admit it, because these freaking horrors will knock you back constantly, and being a melee character, that sucks. But I did proc all of my defenses, got myself basically hedged up against the wall here, because I knew I was going to take a bunch of damage from the explosions. But I was able to make it work. Excellent. Excellent. And that brings me about 5% away from leveling. So I'm looking forward to getting my next level. And let's share another build here, because what I think I would like to do is get something... See if we can't get something with some nice punch. Zalak's Swarm Boiler. The Vortex, huh? I can deal with Vortex. Actually, that's less annoying than the abilities that the horrors have, because at least I get pulled in.
Patience.
As a melee character, I'm happy with that. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to ultimately level us. So let's go ahead and get a bunch of damage out there. I'm just not really getting hurt with the combination of skills I have, which is really nice. But I can certainly dish out the pain regardless.
Nothing stops the crusade.
There it is. Level 31. Blessed ground for Heaven's Fury. Mass Verdict for Judgement. Crack for Justice. And Wings of Angels for Laws of Hope. So we're getting a good amount of skills on the levels now. So we're kind of right at that range where, because we've unlocked the last active skill, we're starting to get a lot of different abilities to test out, and then it'll start slowing down over time as we go forward. So with that, what I think I'll do is I'll go back to town, take a look, make sure there's nothing good in my inventory, salvage what I have, and then let's take a look at what the new skill build is going to be all about. So first and foremost, salvage what we cannot use, and of course any whites. Boots with 0.4 on them, but lose 8 toughness. So I'm not sure about that. I don't think I will. I think I'll keep what I've got. A little bit of damage for a massive loss in toughness just doesn't really do it for me. Doesn't get my motor running, if you will. Alright, we got a flail with a 20% damage increase, and it's got a socket. So that will definitely be more. That's not as much damage. That is a loss. 15, that's 20%, so that's 20% toughness. This is, or sorry, 20% damage. This one's only 15. This is a loss of 20 toughness. That's only 2. So this is not going to be as good. So let's go ahead and let's actually hold on to that, because I might want to give that to Cormac. And ooh, some pants with some strength, vitality, and increases the damage of justice, which is great because we just got a justice rune, didn't we? Okay, so we'll put that in here. In fact, we will then salvage these pants so we can get the gem out of them. That's a flawed. I'll get a regular. Alright, and with that, ooh, here we go. A ring that is 12% damage on the left with a 1.7% loss in toughness. So I'm losing what? Strength, critical strike chance, resource cost reduction. It is more damage on the right ring, but it is a loss of toughness and healing. I might pass on this because the plus damage is nice, but the strength and things like that will ultimately help me out later on. But what I can do is, of course, once again, give that to him. Let's very quickly put in a regular ruby into this weapon. And, of course, into this one. So we're looking at a change of 16% damage here and a 43% change in damage here. That's an 81.9 compared to a 66. So 81.9 on a one-handed flail. Really nice. There's some damage increase for me. And, of course, Cormac will get this wonderful sword. That's a 66 compared to his 42. It doesn't have strength on it, though, which is a shame. At least it's easier to get items for Cormac on a Crusader, as opposed to getting items for my Scoundrel on my Witch Doctor, because, you know, I have a primary stat of strength, so I find a lot of strength items. All right, let's go ahead and put some strength into here, see what we get. We get a 14% increase in damage, a loss of 11 toughness, but gain of 30 healing. So I'm gaining some damage, and I'm gaining lightning skills deal 6% more damage. So if I go to lightning skills, this will be very useful. But for now, I'm trading out some vitality for damage, ultimately. That wins up ahead. Now, with that, this has some vitality. This has just raw damage on it. His damage is 395. What is it going to go down to? 370. For some vitality? Nah, just go ahead and keep that for now. Excellent. All right, so we are good here. So let's go over the skills, shall we? Primary, we're going to Justice now. We got Crack, so we're going to Long Range. So Crack allows the hammer to split when it hits an enemy. So there's a 100% chance it will crack into two smaller hammers that fly out and do 245% weapon damage as wholly. Now you'll notice that the 100% chance is in green. It used to be less than 100% chance, and then they changed it with a recent patch. So now it always splits, which honestly I think probably should have been what it was before, but they had a chance before. So now you do have the full 100%. It's always going to split. So it's a fairly decent cleave attack at range. We're moving into Judgment to Mass Verdict. So Judgment is, of course, the ability that immobilizes enemies for 6 seconds. Mass Verdict, all enemies judged in the first, all enemies that are judged are first drawn to the center of the judged area. So I put it down, and it does the rooting effect like usual, but it also does a pull-in. So if I want to pull a bunch of enemies together, that's a great way to do it. And then I can use that, and that kind of works well with, say, something like Crack, because I can pull them together, and then Crack will hit a whole bunch of enemies at once. We're moving up to Laws of Hope. We're getting the first rune for Laws of Hope. Laws of Hope is not really one of my favorites. It's regeneration, which is okay, but I would rather have, say, more resistances in the Laws of Justice or more speed in the Laws of Valor. Now, Laws of Hope are really nice to have if you've got a group that may already have things such as Laws of Justice and Valor. So that way every Crusader has something to bring to the party, because if you've got the healing as well as the resistance, then you're doing better than if you just had one. Wings of Angels empowers the law to increase movement speed for you and your allies by 50% and allows everyone affected to run through enemies unimpaired. So this can actually be kind of nice. This will allow me to go through enemies if I ever get trapped in a corner, and it will allow me to run away quickly if I need to, which is a good complement to the fact that I now have a range skill. I'm using Justice with Crack, I'm using Blessed Shield with Combust, so I've got some really nice ranged damage right now. Now what I might do is take it off Combust and move it to Staggering Shield, which has the chance to stun. I'm considering this simply because I have a lightning damage increase by 10%. I really love the fact that they added these. So I have lightning damage increased by 10, and I have Justice damage increased by 14. So I'm going to get 24% additional damage on any lightning or not 24 because my Justice is not lightning. But if I did do Burst, I would have more damage. That would be the best thing to do. Like, my gear says I should use Justice with Burst if I were going to do this. But since I just gained Crack, I have to use it. But since I do have lightning damage increase, I can do one of two things. I can do Fists of the Heavens, which I really like, massive damage to a single target, and then damage over an area. But that's just a base level. Blessed Shield is probably a little bit better. So that's 545, that's 430. So it's not a huge difference. And this one hits 3 times. Plus the chance to stun, 35% chance to stun, is not bad. So what I'm going to probably do is go to Staggering Shield. Let's go ahead and use my lightning damage to my advantage. Judgment will pull them in. And let's see, do I want to keep with Phalanx? I don't think I do. Well, you know what? I'm going ranged. Phalanx with Bowmen actually is a good complement to that. So I'm going to keep my distance with these two. Phalanx will constantly be bringing in the enemies. It looks like we're getting away from Heaven's Fury. Or no, we are keeping Heaven's Fury. We've got the first rune for it already. That was quick. Well, that makes me happy because I already like Heaven's Fury. So Heaven's Fury is now going to be buffed into, or changed into Blessed Ground. The ground touched by the ray becomes blessed. It's scorching it, which scorches it and deals 1,550 damage over 5 seconds to any enemy that walks on it. So if we were to take that and want to find out what the, say, damage per second is, which of course just 1,550 over 5, you're looking at 310 damage per second. So if an enemy walks through it for a second, you're still do through 310 damage. So there we go. Heaven's Fury, Blessed Ground. Alright, that looks to be it. That's a pretty good build, actually, I think. So we'll just go ahead and see. There's crack, and it'll crack into 2 smaller hammers when it hits an enemy. We'll use the lightning shield to go off on the lightning damage that we have here. After a while, once I've tried this out a bit, what I'll probably do is switch out Justice with crack to maybe move it into Justice with burst. Because then Justice with burst is going to be 24% increased damage, which is really nice. Plus Justice itself will have a nice additional stun to it. Alright, so let's go forward, get to the Warden, and try this build out. Let's get to a group of enemies to try and pull in. You can see there it goes, it's split out into 2. And you can kind of see what it does is it tries to split in a way that it hits an enemy. But since it has to split in 2 directions, it doesn't always get to do that. You can see that sometimes it splits off and doesn't actually hit anything. It's actually trying to seek out 2 enemies. But it doesn't always get that opportunity. So let's try and pull everything in. You can see there we go. It did a little bit of a pull in. It didn't quite go too far with one of them, so it doesn't look like the pull in is super strong. So this is pretty nice. I can just kind of keep my distance. Deal with a little lag. And there's Blessed Ground. And you can see that I can just go out for me. I don't have to be in close to make it work. This is actually working out pretty good, I think. I put that in the wrong spot. Look at all that holy damage on the ground. Yeah, I like it. This is a pretty nice build for range. Especially if you've got the gear for it. And I've got... Again, I've got the Justice increase, I've got the Lightning increase. Combining the 2 will make it even better, so I'll do that. We'll see how well it works. What I'll probably do is I'll switch to that right before getting to the Butcher. Well, we'll have to see, because I need to see if I get any new kind of gear or anything like that. Alright, gonna pull them in. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use my law in order to move quickly through the area to find where I need to go, or I don't need to. I'll just do this, get this, and I'll use the law. Blue. Alright, so there's my law. You can see I've given myself a shield and I've gotten some movement speed. That's a pretty cool defensive setup right there, actually. That splinter off on the crack is pretty interesting. It goes off in an odd direction sometimes. Okay, now that he's up, I'm going to pop this under him because I want it to hit him. And leave that... I basically want it to leave that pool of holy damage underneath him. Not too much of a deal there. We did pretty good. Alright, this is working pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and change it up now and utilize this before I get to the Butcher because I don't know if I'm going to get any gear changes. So there we go. Now I'm using the Lightning Hammer and we can try and take a look at just how much damage it does. And actually you can see that's a pretty good amount of damage there. Yeah, that's a pretty good amount of damage on my generator.
My lord,
Alright, at level 32! I'm looking forward to this and dreading it at the same time. Fist of the Heavens, Divine Well. Iron Skins, Explosive Skin. And Provoke, Too Scared to Run. So, much like the Witch Doctor before my Crusader here, it looks like I have gained a bunch, or I've gained my level just before getting to the Butcher. So, level 32. My Crusader being about 9 levels behind. Let's clear this out. Apparently we've got a champion here. Who are you? Volok the Manager. Or Mangler. Manager? Freudian slip, right? It'll tell you what I think about management. I mean, I didn't mean that at all. No. Alright, yeah, the rooting is not working on him at all. So I was looking forward to and dreading this at the same time because, at least on the Witch Doctor, the skills I got weren't exactly going to be good for the Butcher, but this might actually work out because Fist of the Heavens is a good single target skill. Not only that, but I really have been liking the way my current build has been working. The lightning with synergy with my gear has been working out pretty nicely. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at the gear, see what I've got, see if there's anything better, and then see if there's anything that I can craft. So welcome to Crafting Corner, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Looks like with this ring, it is a pure upgrade on the left-hand side, 1% damage, 15 toughness, or I can put it on the right, which gains a little more damage and a little less toughness, but I lose healing as well. Let's put it on the right since it seems to be more of an upgrade. Let's compare this to the left, which is a toughness increase, but a loss of damage. It's actually a pretty good loss of toughness, so I probably want to keep this one here. I'll put that on, and then since this one has strength, we'll give this to Cormac with 53. That's vitality and attack speed, so we'll put that on the left-hand side. He will go from 397 to 498 in his damage. Very nice. Shoulders are a bit better. We have some rare shoulders, so I'm going to finally lose my Born's shoulders. 9.2% damage, 4.8% toughness with vitality strength. Increase of condemns damage by 10%. Really? Okay. It's a shame I don't have that. But hey, that's pretty cool. An object to, or a skill to look at maybe next time. Not as good of a weapon. No, no, no. Not good pants. What about these shoulders? No. Okay. Great, and so now I have 3 fiery brimstone, looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I look like. Before I get into the Butcher, got some red here in me still, but I like those shoulders. Those are pretty nice shoulders. Kind of wanting to change out the helmet, but so far so good. Alright, so weapons. What can we make? I've got a level 27 weapon. I have a 25 in here, which is at 31.2. Here is a 38.2. And that is a much higher level. So let's see, anything higher than 38.2? No. Well, there's the flail. This is probably the same type of flail that what I'm using is, but this is a higher level. with a higher amount of damage as a base means it has a chance of being a better weapon than this flail, although the flail has 5 properties, that only has 4. So what I'll probably do is make one dagger, see if it's any better, just because it has the potential to be better. Actually, it looks like this one, this Grandmaster Bludgeon might be better, because that's 43 damage compared to this 38. 4 random properties. So 43. Anything higher than 43? Doesn't look like it. So we'll make this, see what we get, see if it's any better. And it did not roll with as much damage, so we can see that the damage, the 19 to 23 fire, was a little less than the 23 to 29. Plus, it doesn't have a socket, so it's going to lose that. Doesn't have the vitality. But if I could roll one of these with strength, that would actually probably be better than one of these flails. But I'm not too worried about it. They're kind of, looking at this, they're fairly on par, so I'm not going to concern myself with making another weapon. Let's just see what we can do as far as armor. So Captain Crimson Sash, that's kind of nice, but again, I won't be able to craft more than one of those, so I don't think I want to do that for this. Captain Crimson's Whalers, what about Bracers? We're on par with that. We're on par with chest armor, Crusader shield, roughly on par with it, but we could probably do better. Let's see if I can't get a better one. Apparently not. Huh. Oh well. Helm. Alright, we could definitely get a better helm. Let's grab that, shall we? There we go. 7% damage, fit 13% toughness, more strength, vitality, and some critical hit. I lose some of the regeneration, but that's perfectly fine. We'll go ahead and put that on. Scoundrel token, a shield. 10 to 20% block. Let's compare that to the Crusader shield, which is 10. The same thing. 4 properties, 4 properties. Let's go ahead and roll these shoulders as well. So close, but yet so far away. Alright, what about the Templar relic? I've got a 32 Templar relic I can make, and that's a 27. So let's go ahead and make a new Templar relic for Cormac. 100 strength, 94 vital. 109 strength, so it's less strength, 94 vital. Same vital. Chance to block, nope. So I'm just not doing very good with the rolls on crafting today. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those. I did get some gear upgrades, but nothing major, so it's kind of slowing down a bit. That headpiece is definitely very interesting to look at. I'm not sure what I think about that. It's kind of cool. Doesn't exactly scream Holy Warrior, though, does it? More Demonic Warrior, I suppose. It's neat, though. Pretty neat. Alright, I do kind of like that, but we're going to go ahead and move on. It's time to kill the Butcher. But before we kill the Butcher, actually, I need to go through skills, don't I? So, Fist of the Heavens! We are getting Divine Well. So, unfortunately, we are losing the Lightning and getting Holy, so it won't work with my gear, but it's still a pretty nice ability. It hits pretty hard. So, Divine Well. The Holy Bolts crackle with Holy Lightning, and they zap enemies within 18 yards as they travel, dealing 40% weapon damage as Holy. Okay, so it gets 18 yards. That's 8 yards, so it gets more of an AoE. Let's just go ahead and try it out.
I'm not as bad as I look. Really. Stop walking away.
Of course, they travel outwards, so normally you get the charge bolts as 255, and with this, 18 yards. Hard to really say what the exact difference here is. Divine Will obviously gets more of a radius on the initial hit, and it changes it to Holy, but there doesn't appear to be a whole lot different from the base one. So Fist of the Heavens and Divine Well, not too much of a difference. Again, though, there is the big hit, which is the bulk of its damage, is getting an increase, so that is kind of nice. Alright, going to utility, we're going to be losing Phalanx, we're going to get Provoke, too scared to run. Taunted enemies have their attack speed reduced by 50% and their movement speed slowed by 80% for 4 seconds. So even though I kind of don't want to pull enemies into me with a ranged ability that I'm using right now, this isn't too bad because it does slow their attack speed and of course their movement speed, which means I can provoke them and then run away. So we'll go ahead and try that. We're losing Judgement now, we're getting Iron Skin. Your skin turns to iron, absorbing 50% of all incoming damage for 4 seconds. but Explosive Skin modifies it, so when Iron Skin expires, the metal explodes off, dealing 1,400 weapon damage to enemies within 12 yards. So we're seeing some similarities to Barbarians here. Iron Skin is going to let me survive. Explosive Skin means I'm going to do a whole bunch of damage if I'm in with the enemies when it happens. So what I'm probably going to do is change this up to a melee build, especially considering we have Too Scared to Run and Explosive Skin. The secondary Fist of the Heavens is nice. That could either be ranged or melee. It works out really well regardless. It is a direct damage skill that comes from the sky, so it's an indirect attack spell, meaning I can hit whatever I want with it, which is great. Even if I'm in melee, I can still hit something at range if I need to with this. So what I need to consider here, I have holy damage here, so my Holy Cause is still working. Holy Cause is giving me weapon damage and healing when I do holy damage as well, so I do have that. I still have Blessed Ground, so I've got two holy spells now. I think I want to take out Laws of Hope, though. But the question is to what? I'm going to be melee. Going to be provoking, so I could do it with defense, which increases armor, or I could do Laws of Valor to get frozen in time. The two I'm looking at is Frozen in Terror for a stun, Laws of Valor for more armor. Oh man, I'm going to be fighting the Butcher, so stuns really aren't going to work too well. So let's get Laws of Justice and get the Immovable Object. Let's do that. Alright, there we go. So I want to change this up. Let's get rid of Justice. So what do we have that's lightning based that's not ranged? Smite doesn't have anything. Slash has Electrify.
These villagers are terribly dull.
Or I could go, well, I really don't have anything else, do I? So if I want to go for lightning damage, downside is I have Justice. That's the real downside here. I mean, when you look at gear, right, the big thing is I have Justice damage increase, but I also have Punish damage increase now, apparently. Where did the Punish come from? Where did that come from? Ah, okay. So I found it. So I've got Punish damage increased by my belt. That goes up to 14. So Justice and Punish are both the same, but I don't have a Punish rune that's lightning. And I do have a good amount of lightning damage at 10% because I have Bracers and a Amulet. So this is kind of difficult to really want to decide what to want to do. I could, even though I'm using Justice, I could still be melee, because Justice, even though it's a ranged ability, can be used in close range. It's not like I have to get rid of it. But if I were going to change up to something lightning-based, because lightning's getting quite a bit of damage in melee, it would have to be slash Electrify. So what's the difference? We're looking at 230 weapon damage is fire, or 230 weapon damage plus a stun. With Justice, we're looking at 245. So Justice does more damage. So we're going to stick to Justice. And I accidentally got rid of lightning. So even though I've got this ranged ability, I'm probably going to stick up close. Now I don't need to, because I'm not really using any other lightning skills at this point. I can completely ignore it. But since Justice does a good amount of damage as a primary weapon, not only that, but the Butcher there's going to be some spots in the Butcher where I'm going to have to keep my distance anyway. So we'll go ahead and do it. I think this will be fun.
Leah must be back in Tristram crying over the old man's corpse. She'll soon have another one to cry over. Yours. Meet the Butcher.
Fresh meat.
Hey there, big guy. Alright, let's go ahead and spam a little bit of the... Ooh, hello. spam a little bit of that holy damage on him. Okay, I just provoked him, but I really don't think that's going to do much. Blow up. Blow up in his face. There we go. Not bad. The Provoke is really unnecessary in this fight. I'm in no danger of dying, it would appear. I do see a little bit of a difference with this Fist of the Heavens. The bolts that come out, it does mention it in the tooltip, but it's not explicitly clear. So when I'm done here, I'll go ahead and... You can kind of see it now. You can see that the... So I went ahead and I took that hit. I went and actually took both of those hits. I popped my Iron Skin, and then I stayed in close to do the damage. And then I popped my Law to give me more armor when I took the second big hit. So you can see that I just really didn't take a lot of damage there. But when I do the fist, you can kind of see as the bolts travel away, they are doing kind of a electrocute to the butcher. So you can see they're moving it away, but they're also zapping him as they move away. I'm gonna pop my Iron Skin and do a bunch of damage to him with it. There we go. What is my guaranteed legendary for level 32? It is a two-handed sword. Well, I suppose it could have been worse. What am I saying? It could be good still.
Treated in your land.
Crusaders have no land. We are united by an idea rather than a code of laws.
I won't ask what happens to those who betray that idea.
That's probably best.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave that in. I don't remember if I got that conversation before. Okay, so just real quick, since I was mentioning it, the Fist of the Heavens, you can see here it says they crackle with holy lightning and zap enemies as they travel. I had a feeling that's what it meant, but I wasn't sure. So good thing I got to see it as I was fighting the Butcher. So yes, there is a pretty big difference here between Fist of the Heavens and Divine Well. And that Fist of the Heavens does a good amount of damage in a localized area and then does the charge bolts. This not only does the charge bolts, but the charge bolts zap enemies. So it's very much easier to hit enemies around it. So this one seems to be more focused around doing more AoE because it increases the initial hit and all the charge bolts that go out do more damage. Now you can see it's only 40% weapon damage. I'm sure the charge bolts themselves still do 255, but the zapping is only 40%. But that's still a good amount of area damage. Alright, so what did I get? I got a two-handed flail, which really isn't going to help me none. I don't think. And I got some shoulders, which aren't that good. Alright, let's look at the sword, and then we will compare the sword back in town when I can try out my passes. Actually, I might not need to. New transmog, I got Faithful Memory. So nothing unique about this one other than the fact that it's a pretty good, that's a legendary with good stats. Hopefully after patch 2.1 or maybe down the road it will get some kind of unique bonus that it'll have. But it's not bad. It's 95.5 damage per second. Holy damage, 41 to 50. It has 234 vitality and increased attack speed. 1.14 attack speed. Since it's a sword, it attacks fairly quick, which I like. I like having a bit more attack speed. And let's see. Ranged and melee attackers take damage, so it's got thorns, and it's got a chance to chill. Plus, it's got a socket, so that's not too bad. We can already see that even without the passive, it tells me I'm going to gain 2.1% damage. So that's pretty nice. So let's go ahead and put it on, because I'm looking forward to seeing how this will work. So we'll take off Fervor, which is a one-handed. We'll go into Heavenly Strength. We'll hit Accept. And we can see that is now a 2.1% increase in damage. I'm going to put that on. Look at that. That's actually a pretty cool looking weapon. Let me just kind of show that off here. It's a little sparkly. Can I see it here? Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool. I think that's going to be fitting of my character, actually. I will wield that for a while. I should probably change my skill. As a matter of fact, Yeah, I want to do that. I'm going to put on Slash for this. Since I'm doing more lightning damage. Yeah, I like that. Excellent. So we'll go get a gem into it. So we are done with Act 1, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, what I will do is I will go through all the conversations for the story, since we're dealing with the Crusader, so that you can get all the lore with the Crusader. And with that, I want to thank everyone for watching once again. Please enjoy the end of the act. I will see you next time.
Angel, take up your sword.
My sword. I remember now. I was an archangel of the high heavens. I was the embodiment of justice. I am Tyrael. You have restored my mind, friend. And now, I remember the warning I came to deliver. Belial and Asmodan, the last lords of hell, are unleashing a tide of darkness that will drown this world. Already, Belial's shadow has fallen upon Caldeum.
Then I will go to Caldeum and introduce myself to Belial.
We must move quickly. Let us return to Tristram and make ready. Time grows short, my friends. Even now, Belial's influence is spreading through Caldeum.
But how will we find him?
We won't have to. Magda and her coven will lead us straight to him.
I'm not going anywhere until Uncle Deckard's been laid to rest.
The crusade goes on, but we must honor our dead.
I have called for a caravan to guide us to the east. Speak to the caravan master when you are ready to go. We will see to Cain as we depart.
Who are Belial and Asmodan?
Belial is the Lord of Lies. He desires power before all other things, and his 1,000 schemes are designed toward this end. His brother, Asmodan, reigns over the other half of hell as the Lord of Sin. I sense his influence in this world, but I do not yet know where he will strike.
Belial may lead us to him.
They are more rivals than allies in these days, but I pray that you are right.
I can tell by the look in your eye that you're not going to leave it alone. You want to hear what happened to my father?
I do.
Right, well. My father tried to dispel the rumors about my grandfather. No one would listen. Then one night, a week later, crazed refugees from Tristram came for revenge. I remember my father screaming for us to get out, and nasty laughter. A lot of it. Just before justice shoved me out the window, I saw my father crawling up the stairs at me, with 2 daggers in his back, and a 3rd whipping round his throat.
He saved you, Hadrig.
Doesn't mean much to a child, does it? His father's still dead on a stairwell.
Where do we go next? To the Great Desert?
We go to Caldeum.
Caldeum? Yes, the great jewel of the East!
It is not an actual jewel.
I knew that.
So you believe in a cause, but have no memory of what brought you to it?
You have the right of it, my friend.
Belief without choice is not real, Cormac. The Crusaders quested for 200 years, knowing that we might be chasing a dream. We made a choice to believe, and that is what keeps us constant.
I've had similar thoughts, but does that mean everything I've done is for naught? Everything.